Well, hey everyone. My name is Jonathan, and this is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. I want to share with you my 5 favorite books that I read in 2024. Now, these aren't necessarily books that were published or came out in 2024. They just happen to be books that I read during 2024. Again, at number 5 is Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. Now, Rick Riordan, you probably know him for writing the Percy Jackson books, but he's also written quite a few others. And one that he wrote was called Daughter of the Deep. And it's about a girl named Anna who attends an elite high school for marine-based activities. So naval warriors, marine biologists, they all go to this elite high school. And one day, her group of freshmen, they're going out on a training mission, and a massive tragedy happens, and she and her classmates find themselves running for their lives from a rival high school known as Land Institute. And I don't want to say too much more because anything that I say is going to give it away. But if you like science fiction, if you like water-based science fiction, particularly if you're a fan of Jules Verne, I highly recommend that you read this book. It was surprisingly emotional. I really enjoyed it, and fingers are crossed that there'll be a sequel. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but really hoping that that is the case. Number 4, this book was published in 2024. It was from a first-time author named Stephen Banbury, and this book was called The Pumpkin Princess and the Forever Knight. And what this book is about is that on Halloween, there's this little girl named Eve, and she's trying to escape the orphanage where she lives, and she's running away, and she's being chased, and as obviously as these stories go, she is rescued by a very unlikely candidate, and that happens to be the Pumpkin King. He comes and he rescues her, and he takes her home with him. And he takes her to a place called Hollowell Valley, which is the place where undead creatures live. So there's vampires, and there's witches, and there's all kinds of other monster undead creatures that live there. And he brings her home with him and makes her his heir. And she's trying to adapt and learn what it is to be a part of a family. Also, to be a living creature in a land of undead creatures. This tends to bring a bit of chaos, I guess would be a good way to say it. There's some challenges that go there. And then she and her friends, one of whom happens to be a vampire, uncover a conspiracy, a scheme to overthrow the Pumpkin King and to usher in the Forever Knight. And so she has to work with her friends in order to help overcome this scheme. This book was, again, surprisingly emotional. I gave it 5 stars because I loved it that much. And one of the great things was I saw it in our school library, and one of the students in my class checked it out to read, and he said that he really enjoyed it as well. Number three was also a 2024 release. I saw one day while I was at Barnes & Noble with my wife, and decided I would give it a read, and then found out it was the Barnes & Noble Children's Book of the Year, and it was called Impossible Creatures by Catherine Rundell. And it's a story about a boy named Christopher and a girl named Mal. Start off with 2 different storylines, Christopher and Mal, and they converge together. But Christopher thinks his life is pretty boring until one day he goes to live with his grandfather, and his grandfather says, don't ever go to this certain place. So of course, what do you think Christopher does? Goes to that certain place. And while he's there, he rescues a creature that shouldn't exist. He sees it drowning and he rescues it, and that starts him off on this giant adventure. And meanwhile, there's this girl Mal who can fly because of a special coat that she has. Oh, and there's someone trying to kill her, someone tracking her down and trying to kill her. And these two come together, Christopher and Mal, and they discover that magical creatures are dying all over the place. So they have to go on this adventure in which to rescue and figure out why magic is dying, why magic is going away, and also find out who is after Mal and why do they want to see her dead. So it was a phenomenal book. It reminded me so much of the movies that I watched growing up, like The Never Ending Story, The Princess Bride, even Willow. It was very reminiscent of those. And if you like adult fantasy, it reminded me a lot of Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, also a phenomenal book. Number two, I was a little late to the party on this. I kept seeing it over and over again on YouTube and different places like that, so I thought I'd give it a read, and I really am glad that I did. This was Amari and the Night Brothers. And Amari and the Night Brothers is about a girl named Amari who is having some struggles. She lives with her mom. Her mom's working a lot trying to be able to pay for her to go to a private school where Amari is constantly getting into trouble. There's some other girls there that she's butting heads with. And also, her brother Quentin has disappeared. And nobody seems to want to take that seriously. Well, one night, she gets a mysterious letter and package from Quentin. And it comes to find out that he's been working for the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. And Amari's like, I've never even heard of the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. And she's given an invitation to go to their training school. And while she's there, she has to compete against other people that have been chosen to be a part of that. And each one of them has a magical ability, or a special ability, I guess is a better way to put it. And come to find out that Amari has an illegal one that she shouldn't have. And as a result, she may be one of the bad guys. And so they're trying to figure out what happened to Quentin. There are some friendship dynamics that go on there. It's just a fabulous story. It's wonderful. It was written by B.B. Alston. I believe this was also his debut novel. He has since written two others, and that was Amari and the Great Game, and Amari and the Despicable Wonders, which the third one came out in 2024. And my understanding is there are two more books, Amari Book 4 and Book 5, so I cannot wait to see them. And then finally, I like this book so much that I actually read it twice last year. This was The Liars Society by Alison Gerber. And it's about two kids. One is named Weatherby, and one is named Jack. The story's told from both of their perspectives, alternating chapters. And Weatherby gets an invitation and a scholarship to go to a very prestigious school called the Boston School. And she gets this after winning a sailing competition that she shouldn't have won. And so she has a secret, and she's trying to keep it under wraps so that nobody finds out that she's at this school when she really shouldn't be. Meanwhile, there's Jack, and Jack comes from a very powerful family that has lots of secrets. And when Jack and Weatherby first meet, they don't like each other. They really cannot stand each other. But through a series of different things, they find out that they have a lot in common. They become really good friends, only to find out that Jack's dad wants him to stay away from her. And then other things happen. Their class is supposed to go on a special trip, and the money gets stolen. And there's all of these secrets, and there's secret societies, and there's intrigue that takes place. It was just a phenomenal, wonderful book. Obviously it was, because I read it twice. And the sequel to it's called The Liar Society, A Risky Game, is coming out April 1st. I've already had the opportunity to read that. Ms. Gerber was kind enough to send me an advanced copy of it. It's phenomenal. I cannot wait to read it. But yeah, look for that on April 1st, A Liar Society, A Risky Game. So those are my top 5 favorite books, top 5 favorite reads of 2024. And so, have you read any of these books? Have you heard any of these books? Do you have any interest in reading any of these books? Or if you have read them and want to make a recommendation that might be similar to it, I'd love to hear it. Just leave those down in the comments. And again, my name is Jonathan. This has been Mr. Pearson Talks Books, and I'll see you next time.